You might be surprised that there's a $46,000 deposit here. I'm using a guarantor loan, which means I'm not putting down any deposit really for settlement. Now, the first thing I'll pay is a $5,000 holding deposit, which you can see here. Now that must be paid for the contract to become binding. Okay, if you forget to pay your holding deposit, the seller can actually exit the contract. I've got nearly a 90-day settlement. Now I love a long settlement because it means I'm locking in the price now at $920 and I'm not paying any costs or any mortgage for this full 3 months. Really exciting. I didn't think I'd be signing a contract of sale this soon, but I'm glad that I am. It is crunch time, guys. The contract of sale for the Ferntree Gully house is sitting in my inbox. It's ready to be signed. So it was sent to me 2 days ago. I sent it straight to my conveyancer. I'm using Joe from Red Door Conveyancing. Now he's provided me with his full contract review. So I thought I'd take you guys through the most important parts of the contract. I'll outline the common mistakes I see, and I'll just run through it with you and show you what you can expect for when you buy your property. So we'll begin with the particulars of the sale. Here we have the purchase price being $920,000. We did begin negotiations at $900. We've landed on $920. I believe that's a pretty fair price. So $920,000. You might be surprised that there's a $46,000 deposit here. I'm using a guarantor loan, which means I'm not putting down any deposit really for settlement. However, I will be paying this 5% deposit now. That'll give the seller some proceeds to then go find their new home, and that money will be released back to me at settlement. So I will be paying that. Now, the first thing I'll pay is a $5,000 holding deposit, which you can see here. Now that must be paid for the contract to become binding. Okay, if you forget to pay your holding deposit, the seller can actually exit the contract. So please don't forget, if you sign a contract, make sure that you pay that holding deposit as soon as possible. And it is safe. It goes into the real estate agent's trust account or a conveyancer's trust account. And if you exit your contract because, let's say, your finance doesn't get approved during your finance period, you'll get the deposit back. So don't be afraid to pay that deposit. Okay, now the balance, $874,000, that will be completely funded by the bank, of course. Now we have the settlement, and this one's an interesting one. I've got nearly a 90-day settlement. So I'll settle on the 30th of January, nearly 3 months. Now I love a long settlement because it means I'm locking in the price now at $920 and I'm not paying any costs or any mortgage for this full 3 months. So it'll settle in 30th of Jan, and that's when I start paying the mortgage. So the longer the better, in my opinion. Next we have the loan, general condition 14. Here you can see, well, I'm using CommBank, they've put any lender. The loan amount is $920,000. So they have acknowledged that I'm using the guarantor loan and I'll be borrowing the full purchase price. I'll also be borrowing stamp duty. That's, not put here. And my approval, my finance approval date is, 5 days from now. I have a 7-day finance clause, which is very tight. My mortgage broker is not going to love me for that. But the good thing for you to know is you can always extend your finance clause. 9 times out of 10, the seller and their conveyancer will allow for an extension. So it's pretty rare that they don't. I've also got 7 days for a building and pest inspection. Now that might sound tight. Really it's not. We can get our building and pest inspection done within 48 hours. The inspector we work with is very efficient. So 7 days for the building and pest, not an issue. Now these two conditions, the finance clause and the building and pest clause, they are essentially safety nets for me. If we do the building and pest and there's a major defect, for example, the roof needs repointing, that's a major defect, I can rescind on the contract. I can walk away from the property and I won't lose my deposit. Same for the finance clause. If my finances are rejected by the bank and I can't get the loan, I can exit this contract and I won't lose any of my deposit. So they are two very important safety nets. Usually you'll do 14 days for each clause. In this case, we've done 7. That's because I've got my pre-approval, so I should be getting my finance done or my finance approval a bit quicker. And we can get our building and pest done very quickly, so there's no need for me to have 14 days. And offering 7 days is just, it's essentially like a bargaining chip. You know, I offer a lower due diligence period and they are less picky about needing, you know, a specific purchase price. They can be more lenient on the price if I'm being lenient on my conditions. Let's now go through the vendor statement. So this is where the seller discloses any key information about the property that I should know as the buyer before I go ahead and purchase it. Now let's begin with the title. So the things to look out for on the copy of the title includes, is there a mortgage? Are there any caveats? For example, if a builder, you know, renovated the house and they were never paid, they might place a caveat on the property. So there is no mortgage, there's no caveat, however, there is an encumbrance on this property. So let's investigate that one now. And keep in mind, we're looking at lot 8. So here, lot 8 on the plan, you can see that there is an easement. This is a sewerage and drainage easement. It runs along the back fence. So for me, that's not a problem at all. Every property in this area has the same easement. And if I were to develop this property or build a granny flat at the back, I wouldn't be building as far as the back fence. So this land here, and you can visualize it here, that blue space, I would not be building past there, so the easement for me is quite irrelevant. It doesn't hinder my development potential. Let's take a look at the property report here. This one's quite interesting. They talk about the burglary statistics, essentially showing you that Fern Tree Gully is relatively safe compared to the rest of the state. It's just good to know. We've got the zoning map. We have a vegetation protection overlay. This essentially means if you are to, you know, build in the back and you want to remove the trees, you need to get an arborist to come in and check that those trees are not protected. I don't believe they are, but still a process that needs to be done. I don't have any other overlays, which is great. No Aboriginal cultural heritage overlay, no flood, no bushfire, so everything is fine. We then have a copy of a rates notice and some information from Southeast Water, essentially showing you what you can expect from the rates. And at the end here, we've got the land value, $760,000, and this will affect the land tax that I pay. So that land tax will be $3,210 for the whole year. So it's an investment property. I have to pay land tax. It's not fun, but that's just one cost of owning real estate. And that is it. Nothing else concerning. So it all looks pretty good. It's very standard. I don't have any need to go back with my conveyancer and ask for any changes or additions to general or to special conditions. Everything is fine. I'm happy to sign it, so that's what I'm going to do now. So the contract of sale is now signed, but that doesn't mean the deal is done. What happens next is the real estate agent will take my signed copy of the contract. He'll take it to the seller on Monday. Fingers crossed she signs and there are no issues, and I will then receive that fully exchanged contract. What I'll then do is send that copy to my mortgage broker. They will then send it to the bank to get my formal approval, and that's all part of my finance clause. Well, now I've got around 5 days to get that done. Also, once I receive the executed contract, I'll be booking in the building and pest inspection and getting that done as soon as possible. That will most likely be the next vlog that comes out. So hopefully that's all good, and then I'll satisfy the building and pest clause. So those are the next steps. Really exciting. I didn't think I'd be signing a contract of sale this soon, but I'm glad that I am. And yeah, the contract looked fine, no red flags. Living in a renovation site is really interesting because whenever you have people walk past, they just stare at your property. Oh, he's not really, yeah, he's staring. So I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I hope you got some tips out of it. Make sure that you like and subscribe. The next vlog will be the building and pest inspection. So yeah, thanks for watching.